Hi there. It's your second favorite DP right here, okay? No, that's Deadpool, you silly little Hufflepuff. Anyways, I'm gonna need you to shut up that pretty little mouth of yours and pay attention because the show's about to start, alright? And, I don't know about you, but I know who's my vote for sexiest ex-soldier turned pop culture show host. Alright, enough foreplay. Let's get on with the show.
Broadcasting live from the basement of the Pentagon. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Everybody, welcome one and all. Today is February 20th, 2024, and this is episode 160 of Pop Culture Warrior. It's the show where I stay up to date on all the ins and outs of what's happening in pop culture so you don't have to. I am CQ. I'm your Pop Culture Warrior. And joining me now is our beloved co-host, the man in the bubble, the Marine with the mouth. Ladies and gentlemen, the top of Mike's head, Mad Mike. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, what's up? I had to scratch my butt.
I was gonna say, caught you scratching your ass. All right, starting off things with a bang. All right.
Let me fix them.
A little. There you go. You got it.
There we go.
You got it. We only did this for 15 minutes before the show. It's fine. Tonight, super special, awesome, legendary guest. Legendary. Phil LaMarr, whether you know him from pop culture.
Pop culture, where you will later.
From anything pop culture, meaning Pulp Fiction, Mad TV, Futurama, movies, TV,
every video game,
cartoons,
ever
video
made.
games. He is all over the place. The guy is legend. Yeah,
He's
just
the crossing guard at your kid's school.
yeah. I think he was a
the
mailman for a
cashier
while.
at the grocery store.
He Ubers on the weekends.
Got like
There's nothing
17 pages
this
of stuff he's done.
there's nothing this man hasn't done. It is so true. Go to his IMDb page and you'll be scrolling for like an hour. The guy's been in absolutely everything.
And that'll be the last year.
That'll be the last year. Yeah, the guy's busy. So hey everybody, thanks for watching. We got a comment. I wasn't the only one late. Listen, we weren't.
That's what
late.
she said. Got me.
We weren't late. We were biding our time. Dramatic entrance. You show up a little bit, and yeah, that's what it was. Totally, that's what it was.
Latino time. We're early.
We are super early. So we do got Phil LaMarr later tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern. He'll be joining us. Man, I'm super excited. I'm a dude that grew up loving a lot of the stuff that he did. I remember first seeing him in Mad TV, and then obviously in Futurama. He's the Jamaican. Oh my God, what's his name? God damn it! I'm drawing a blank now on his name. Anyway, but he's done stuff in the DC universe, in the Marvel universe. He's done stuff in Scooby Doo. He's done any name a franchise, and he's voiced a character at some point on it. That's just the way it is. So very excited to talk to him later. And
Pulp Fiction, Jesus.
Pulp Fiction. I mean, lots of things. He's been in lots of things.
Everything. It's literally
Hermes Conrad. Thank you, Patrick. Goodness gracious, Hermes Conrad. That's the Jamaican in Futurama. I was just talking about Mike, and he's also Ollie Williams in Family Guy. Like, what's the weather out there like, Ollie? It's rain. Let's see if I can get him to do that tonight. I'm like, can I toss to you for the weather? Hey, Phil, how's the weather out there? Sun. Lots of sun. I want him to. That's going to be fun. All right. Anyway. What else? How you been, Mike? Man, I feel like we haven't talked in a minute, man. How you doing?
In a week?
Yeah. It's about
good.
Take. Yeah.
Good, hanging in there,
Yeah.
Surviving the chill. It's 65 down here.
A balmy 65.
A brisk 65, sir.
I think it was 23 this morning.
I had to put on pants today. It was so
full pants. Wow.
One of two that I own.
No exposed calves, kinkles. No exposed.
No shorts today.
Awesome.
I went and saw that Argyle movie.
Thoughts?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I liked it.
Yeah.
That what's his name? Vaughn. He does good stuff.
Matthew Vaughn.
He did the Kingsman stuff.
Yeah, the Kingsmans. Yep, a couple other things.
I don't remember, but yeah, the Kingsman. That's all anyone knows him for.
Sure. No, it's good. I'm glad. It's amazing to me. I'm not used to you saying positive things, so I'm a little stunned right now. A little taken aback.
Any movie where they kill people and then they make it like extravagant is fucking awesome. I like it.
All right, fair enough.
Like when he blew all their heads off in Kingsman and he made it like colored smoke. Like, this is creative. Like, cool. Good for you, sir.
Murder on a grandiose. You like it's like the Joker.
Why can't murder be beautiful?
Yeah. It's like the Joker. You can kill somebody. Kill him with some pizzazz, man. Give him the old.
Kill him with style.
With style. Exactly. Let's see. What do we got tonight? Couple things. Let's do a little good, bad, and the ugly, and we're gonna start with the ugly, the bad and the ugly. Madam Web. I mean, it's so bad. It's so bad, and
they stopped making movies. It was perfect. Thank you. They literally canceled all the other projects they were gonna do. It's like, what did you expect?
I hope that's the case. I really hope that's the case.
If we can just get them not to release the is it the Manhunter one? What's the wolf
Craven.
Craven. Yeah.
So So remember we joked last week about how they were trying to bump up the numbers by opening the movie way early. So
Yeah.
in a 6-day holiday weekend, it only grossed 25.8 million in a 6-day period, crossing two holidays because it went from Valentine's Day to like President's Day,
That's
and it
sad.
only grossed 25. It came in second to the Bob Marley biopic that
Yeah.
really wasn't even
Nobody knew was
promoted.
out there.
Yeah, was not very much
I
promoted.
only saw that it was a thing because when I picked Argyle or whatever, it was on there. And then while I was waiting for the movie to start, they had a little thing with the guy that played the lead role or whatever.
Mm.
Like, oh, I did it because whatever. It's like, yeah. Anyways, I was like, I didn't know this was a thing.
I did it because they offered me money to do it.
That's sad. I never saw one preview for it.
I saw a couple, but it was definitely they didn't have a big marketing budget for sure.
So it's like 28 million people saw it that like, oh, it's a Marvel movie. It'll be good. Not a Marvel movie,
$25
folks.
million. And here's the thing. So it's the worst opening for any Sony-made Marvel movie. So that's going back to the original Spider-Mans with Tobey Maguire and what's his name?
The most successful ones.
Yeah.
Well, besides the new ones that Kevin Feige made.
Yeah. So it's the first Marvel-based movie since the Fox's reboot of Fantastic Four. Remember, it was the Fantastic with the Four and the word. And
yeah, where the director quit and he's
yes,
like, I'm not doing this
where
shit.
everybody was like, "What did we do?" So it's the first movie since that one to fail to open at number one.
And it did worse, didn't it? You said it's the worst. That's pretty bad if your movie did worse than that.
Yes.
I've never even watched that piece of shit.
Yes. That movie, which was directed by Josh Trank, opened in August 2015 with 26.2 million. So that means it made less than the Fantastic movie, which was critically bombed. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, that one had a 9% Rotten Tomatoes score and a C- on CinemaScore, which is the worst ever for any studio superhero movie ever. And Madam Web is currently at 13%. So it is chasing that number down.
Saw a thing where she's like, oh, it's like how Dakota Fanning channeled her dad for the movie. And I was like, what did he do? Channel all his shitty fucking body of work to make this shit?
Yeah, it's so bad. I don't know what to say. We predicted it was gonna be bad. I mean, they got us with the trailer. We were like, okay, that's interesting. There's a interesting concept going like a little what was that movie? Final Destination. But I had a feeling. I had a feeling it was gonna be bad.
Anyone with common sense had a feeling it was gonna be bad.
That
it's just like they're just so out. Sony's just so out of touch with everything. It's like, what do you like? I don't know what they do all day. They just do blow off hookers and then like, oh, they just throw darts at a board or whatever. Like whoever's the highest and drunkest, throw the dart, and that's what shit we're gonna make next. It's like shit. It landed in between two. Like, all right, we're making a Spider-Man Madam Web movie.
Yep. I was thinking like we need to do a brainstorm and like break out just a bunch of blow and mushrooms. Okay, so here's my thought. Okay, follow me, right? It's Madam Web, but it has nothing to do with Spider-Man.
I've never read the comic book. I just saw it in the store and it had a really cool cover.
Yeah. We're gonna base the whole movie off an image.
We're not gonna read any of it. We're just gonna make up our own shit.
Yes, exactly. King Smiths here says, I figured when 0 tickets were sold on a weekend at prime evenings 2 hours prior, I made a good decision not going. I mean, did you make a good decision or did someone give you a recommendation not to go see it? I don't know. We'll leave it at that. I think there's a case that this movie destroyed any chance at a Sony Spider-Verse universe, whatever the hell they're trying to build, right? Because they got the Morbius and they got the Venom and they got the Madam Web and they got Craven coming. Whatever it is they're trying to build to, I think it's DOA. I think it's done. It's aborted. It's got to be let go.
This morning or something, they said that all everything else is done. They're not doing it anymore. Thank God.
Well, so it's funny to me because in the lead up to this, right? That was the big hype was we're building this universe and we're finally going to see Spider-Man come into this Sony-verse and like it was all this stuff in the lead up, and then all of a sudden, like it was right before the critical reviews started coming in and everything. I remember seeing an article where they're like, "Oh no, this is a standalone story. It has nothing to do with all the other Sony Spider-Man movies we're making. This is its own thing." And I'm like, man, they tried to distance themselves as fast as humanly possible.
Let's get all this shitstorm.
That's what it was. It was supposed to lead up to Spider-Woman movies. It was supposed to connect later into the Venomverse and all. And yeah, this so bad that it just killed any chance of any of that happening. And good riddance, honestly, because at the rate they're going, I don't think there's a thing there. I don't think there's superhero fatigue. I think there's bad superhero movie fatigue.
Yeah,
right?
You're picking shit characters that nobody gives a shit about.
Like, and Marvel's guilty of it too.
Fuck, you know what I really wanted to see my whole life? Spider-Woman. Like nobody, that shit was created just for equal rights bullshit in the 70s. Like nobody freaking wants to see that crap.
And
no one's ever like, that's not a hot selling comic. You know how much Spider-Man Spider-Woman #1's worth? It's like $40, and that shit's like 100 years old. That's at a 9.8. Like, get out of here. Just go by that alone. What do they want to see? They want to see Punisher shoot the shit out of Spider-Man. They want to see Venom. They want to see Carnage.
Yeah,
that's the shit people want to see.
And that's the thing.
Craven.
You guys messed up Venom. Yeah, which already, if in the Spider-Man universe, Venom is second only to Spider-Man in popularity. And you fucked up that movie.
Carnage is the fucking best one of them all, and you blew the shit out of that one.
And then Morbius, while not a great character, I think visually could be a cool movie if done correctly. Right, it's very like Blade-esque.
Intro villain or filler,
get to
whatever. Like,
and they just.
You think Craven could have been good? Like, it's got a lot of good villains, and it's like just keep picking these third-rate hacks. It's like,
I mean, when it comes to a rogues gallery,
you're not doing Fast and the Furious, where you're focusing on that. The guy that cleans the toilets in the shop, or I mount all the tires for all the vehicles. Someone's got to do it.
You're killing me, man. You're killing me. I gotta
make sure these tires are balanced from when Dom goes and jumps off 17 skyscrapers.
You gotta make sure your wheels are aligned.
We don't want a shaky wheel.
Your wheels ain't aligned. That's it. End of the franchise.
Fast and the Furious 12. Norm, the mechanic.
I just had a terrible, so dark joke.
God. I don't have enough time to balance these wheels. I only balanced them to 40, not 60.
I had a terrible dark joke. I was like, oh man, do I even say
Norm didn't balance the wheels and Paul Walker died.
I was gonna go, you definitely want balanced tires, otherwise you make no more movies as Paul Walker. Oh,
get him!
That's
Still
terrible.
Another one.
That's terrible.
CGI'd his ass in there.
His brother. Anyway, so that's the bad. That's the bad. On a positive, I feel like, and I think we talked about this privately. I feel like Marvel is realizing they've had some missteps. I feel like they're realizing they maybe went too far in one direction. I'll just say it that way. And pulling everything off the table, and obviously the strike helped them clear their mind. But wiping everything off the schedule, saying, okay, we'll release Deadpool this year, and we'll just focus on next year. And like, we've tried it. You know, we tried all this world building. We tried all this small scaled stories and lower, you know, because you're trying to bring up a demographic, which is fine. But I think they're realizing, okay, the people want the Deadpool. They want all their cameos and all that. And next year, let's give them Fantastic Four. Let's give them X-Men, right? Let's do this because we got to get this ship back on track. We've got to. And if they can't do it with Fantastic Four and X-Men, universe is over. Mm-hmm. So, with that being said, last week, damn near right when we went off air, the very next day, Valentine's Day, they announced the cast for the Fantastic Four. So let's pull this up here, which whoever did the artwork, chef's kiss. I love it. I absolutely love it. I love the comic book style. I love the nod to like that 60s, 70s era style. I love the funky little robot dude right there. I love it. Love it. So we've got Pedro Pascal confirmed as Reed Richards, who apparently Pedro Pascal is collecting geek franchises like Thanos collects Infinity Stones. You know what I mean? Last of Us, Wonder Woman, now Fantastic Four, Game of Thrones, Mandalorian.
Christ.
This guy's gonna be in everything.
Like the only freaking actor employed. They got like a buy two get two free from him, like Disney. Jesus Christ!
He's got his like frequent flyer.
17 annual passes to Disneyland. I'll do whatever the frick you want. Whenever I go, everything's free.
Yeah, pretty much. So he's playing Reed Richards. You have Vanessa Kirby, who famous for her role in The Crown. She's playing the powerful Susan Storm, the Invisible Woman. You got Ebon Moss Bachrach, who is playing Ben Grimm. He is in. Have you watched The Bear? Great show. He plays cousin, right? His cousin. Okay. He's the tall, lanky guy. A great choice.
That's funny. Yeah.
Very gravelly, very gruff. I can see him. I'm assuming CGI'd as Ben Grimm, but they really need to give him the facial feature, which the look here is great. You know, if you make that live action, it'll be great.
That's exactly what they're gonna do.
What else? And then we've got Joseph Quinn as the Human Torch. Joseph Quinn, famous for his role in Stranger Things.
Is his mom Dr. Quinn, medicine woman?
Yes, apparently that's
knew it.
Yeah,
knew it.
Nailed it. Great 70s reference. Not aging yourself at all. Not dating yourself at all. So, I mean, honestly, surprising to announce it on Valentine's Day, but I get it, right? There's a love story of Reed and Susan and you know, family dynamic and whatnot, but
well, it's Disney. I mean, he could like the Human Torch. You never know these days. Plot twist. Medicine Woman's son is playing Invisible Woman.
And the little robot is Angry Elf here says the little robot dude is Herbie. That's Herbie. Herbie. What do you think? What do you think of the cast? What do you think of the cast Fantastic Four?
I wouldn't have went with Pedro Pascal, but
Really? Why's
yeah,
that?
I don't think he has good range. He acts the same. I wanted to see the Office guy, or what's his name? That
John
dude that
Krasinski.
everyone. Yes,
Yeah.
Krasinski. So I'm a little butthurt, but even him, I don't know if he would have done a good job as. I guess we'll see. The guy's supposed to be really smart and brilliant,
Yeah.
and I find it hard to just see Pedro doing that. I mean, he could
I
be a
hear you.
smart guy, but he always plays kind of average.
Yeah, he plays like your everyman. Your
Yeah.
your hunky everyman.
No, he's gonna
Right?
be like the quantum butter with the ba ba ba. It's like I'm not gonna believe it. Do we need to believe it? Probably not, but I want him to sell a little bit.
I mean, the Mandalorian voice, he does a very good, like, stone, sober, kind of straight monotone. He does that
Yeah,
well.
it's also like technically enhanced, but we'll see.
Reverbed.
We'll see. It'll be
I
different for him, so
So if I'm being
we'll
honest,
see.
I like Pedro Pascal as an actor. I really do.
Yeah. No, he does good
Everything I've
work. It's
seen him
just
in, I like. Minus Wonder Woman. That was, jeez.
that was terrible.
Nobody was good in that. Nobody came off looking good in
I
that
think he
movie.
owed somebody a favor or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
he owed somebody some money, and he had to do some. Um,
Cocaine
everything
is a hell
else,
of a drug.
yeah. And so, I love him as an actor, but I kind of agree with you. Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see world's smartest man. Um,
I think they did it to sell because everyone else is a relative nobody. So if you had a fourth nobody, like, not going to sell as many tickets. Where they're like, it's Pedro Pascal. We're gonna go. There's
yeah, I don't
us.
know.
We're like, well, whatever. But most people, they need a big name.
I
Studios need a
want,
big name to tie
yeah,
to the picture.
I want to be pleasantly surprised. I want to be pleasantly surprised. I want him to knock out of the park. I want this to be a great movie based on what we
Sure,
have
it will
here.
be. They haven't done garbage yet, so
Based on what we have here, let me ask your thoughts. The prevailing theory is that this is not modern times MCU, right? The prevailing theory is like they were a group in the 60s or the 70s, you know, sucked into whatever, the fucking nether realm or what have you, or they go into space or who knows what. And then they're going to get like very much almost like Captain Marvel. A lot of people are saying this will be a movie about that time in the MCU. And then somehow, way or another, they'll jump forward to modern day MCU.
yeah.
Either at the end of this movie or
When they
subsequent
figure out
movies.
how they want to tie it in, yeah,
Yeah,
makes sense.
because like
I
Captain
could see that.
America, that's what they did first. Captain America, Captain Marvel, that's what they did. Ant-Man kind of jumped 5 years into the future from his last movie to Avengers. So they've
Yeah.
done it before. They've
And they're doing
done
they're doing the whole time travel stuff, so they'll do this, and then all of a
Deadpool with the
sudden
time travel.
we'll
Yeah,
be on whatever Avengers or something, and then Reed Richards will pop up like, I came
yeah,
back to help
because
you guys equalize the time
the time
space.
the time space continuum is in danger. This
Well, they
movie
were
will
talking
come
about
out.
bringing in Doom instead of
Kang, yeah, yep.
Kang. This is the perfect way to do it. Like,
That's
they introduce him here, and then he shows up later, and then these guys, Reed Richards saves the day and fights Doom in the future or
yeah.
whatever. Damn, we just spoiled it for everyone. Too smart.
We're in on it. The shit. What was I gonna say? The thing with that. Oh, this movie will real life chronologically. This movie comes out right before the next Avengers film. So much like Ant-Man kind of led way into Endgame. A lot of people are saying like this film will somehow take place in the past, but then through time travel shenanigans, they'll end up just in time to be in the Avengers movie that follows it. So I mean, it's most likely.
It'll probably be an after credits thing or something.
Yeah. But either way, Angry Elf says the clues are all there in the picture. It starts in the 60s. Perhaps they get sucked into the negative zone or went into space explore. That's what I said. That's exactly what I said.
Does he have the volume on? Jesus Christ.
Come on, Angry Elf. Okay. Another good
Or it
thing.
could be a total ruse and we're dead wrong.
Right, yeah. It could be a total pump fake. It could be a total pump fake just to throw people off.
They're like, psych, Michael B. Jordan shows up in the movie. You're like, what the fuck?
Flame on! I'm dying for, speaking of that, like Deadpool, like they're bringing back a lot of old X-Men characters. They're bringing a lot of cameos. Reportedly, Taylor Swift's going to be...
Like Chris Evans.
I want Chris Evans to come back and people will be like, oh my God, Captain America's back. And then he's like, flame on! And just... And I'm like, yes! That'd be awesome. Awesome. I would be so like, he's got to want to do it. Like, just as a big funny gag, you know, Ryan Reynolds is like, bro, I need you for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Come in here, yell flame on. He did the Free Guy. He made a cameo Free Guy because Ryan Reynolds asked him to. Literally, they said afterwards, he goes, yeah, the only reason I did it, Ryan called me up. He said, do you want to do it? I said, sure. You know, like, that's all you need. Like, where's Captain America when you need him? Quick, swipe, and it's fucking this guy, and he's like, hey, flame on, and then like Deadpool comes in and hits him with like a fire extinguisher. He's like, no, we wanted the other one. You know, I think that'd be funny. That'd be great.
It's too late. They already finished it.
Let's see. I remember even the cartoon sucked that came out in the early 2000s, and it will be sucked because besides Jessica Alba. Yeah. Oh man, I had such a thing for Jessica Alba. Oh. Speaking of having a thing for someone in the 90s, I won't say who yet, but someone who was very big, late 90s, early 2000s, and I had a massive crush on, has agreed to come on the show, and we're just nailing down the date right now. We're working with her people to nail down the date. But
Mario Lopez or John Stamos?
David Coulier.
Nobody knows who that is.
I'm not an Uncle Joey guy, you know. Anyway, but I will say, the day comes, you might see me like very red and very like sweating, just big armpit stains because I'm like, just it's fine, it's no big deal. I'm cool. Anyway, so we'll announce that when the time comes. But what time is it? Oh, okay, just me. Totally lost track of the time. So Jessica Alba and Deadpool. Underwear. Great. Speaking of X-Men, speaking of coming back, speaking of things, Marvel drops the Valentine's Day surprise. Hey, here's the cast of Fantastic Four. We're like, oh my God, it can't get any better. What a great week. The next day, they're like, you think that was cool? And they drop this.
Watch the series finale of X-Men next Saturday morning. Check your local listings.
I'm grateful to have the chance to say goodbye. I am proud of you all, my X-Men.
Fate lies in our hands now. Now.
We have to stay vigilant. The professor entrusted us with his dream.
No matter how dark it is, we must believe in each other.
We get this done by working together as a team.
Jeez, bub. Keep buzzing in my ear.
Heads up!
To me, my X-Men. Magneto.
The last will and testament of Charles Xavier. Everything he built now belongs to me.
All right, we're back. First, awesome.
So good, it made you go British.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Boot. There's the scene, probably the coolest scene in the trailer, where Gambit lights up our boy's claws. Correct me if I'm not.
Right.
If Gambit were to do that, a few short seconds later, Wolverine would explode.
Yeah.
They're coated metal, and it's part of his skeletal system, which is all coated in the same material. And Gambit doesn't like a playing card. He doesn't just light up half of it, right? He lights it up. The whole thing lights up. Therefore, he just lit up Logan's entire skeletal system, which, again, I know he'll regenerate but that's like one of the, you ever play the fighting games and it's like the ultimate finisher move? Because he's like, I'm going to need a minute after this. Like, you have to go full on ultimate. Because he's all I can envision is just shower of sparks after that.
See what the point, unless he just shoots it out of his dick. But I don't see the point of that.
Pew 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 pew.
He is gay. Just saying.
And I have canonical comic book backup evidence. There has been times where in one fight, and it wasn't against Wolverine, but it was against Daken, his son, who also has the adamantium claws, and Gambit had grabbed it, lit it up, and but he didn't have it long enough to like fully charge it, but it blew up everything to like his shoulder. Just nastiness. And there's another comic book, the Ultimate Universe, where Ultimate Wolverine was fighting Ultimate Gambit, and he had him pinned into the wall, and like he pulled out the claws, and he literally just touched it, and it started to glow, and he goes, if I want, your whole system just goes. And even at that point, Wolverine was like, he just pulled his claws back, because he's like, I'm not gonna do it. So, while it is awesome, and I love it, I just worry, like if we're just making up rules now, you know what I mean? If we're just making shit up, it is what it is.
Cartoon.
Am I reading too much into it?
Yeah. It's a freaking kid's cartoon. Christ.
And then Scott, God bless you, Scott. Have you seen the meme with Rogue comparing the two? I know what you're referring to. I know. Do you know what he's referring to, Mike?
No.
So there's the classic, very paused image of the original cartoon where Apocalypse is standing over Rogue, right? And she's all like hunched over and her ass is like, "Ba-dow." You remember that image?
Okay.
So somebody froze an image of the trailer, and in it we see like Rogue, and she's like flat. She's like Taylor Swift, just shoulders to ankles, straight line.
That's the new era, man. What do we have? Early 90s. It was all about that badonkadonk.
Yeah,
What's it now?
badonkadonk. It was all about the
T-Swift.
men pecs and badonkadonks. Yeah, no. So she has definitely been altered ever so slightly. You know.
Well, it's also Disney too, so it's probably a dude for all we know. I don't know.
You hear there's like this big uproar because Morph, who you remember Morph from the cartoon series, apparently he's going to be non-binary in the cartoon.
Oh my god!
Which I get it.
I guess and that thing makes perfect sense because he can have whatever he wants.
But that's what I'm saying. I get why people, or I don't get why. I understand people are like, oh no, another trend. But I'm like, he's literally a character who can choose what he wants to be.
Yeah. You know who else is non-binary? Fucking Casper the Ghost, all right? Argue that shit.
Like, I could see people getting up in arms if they're like, Wolverine decides he's going to be transgender, or like Cyclops is now a Zer.
No, that's what I want. Let's do that. Like, what if season 3? I always wanted to be a lady. Bob.
It's just Wolverine in a dress.
It's the woman's room, Bob.
I've never felt so beautiful.
Wolverine, voiced by Bruce Jenner. They literally look exactly the same.
Oh god, I can't laugh at that.
Around while he's like playing
tennis and shit. Oh no, I can't. I shouldn't be laughing at that. I shouldn't be laughing at that. Jesus Christ.
Oh, who's not coming on the show?
Bruce, add to the list of people not Bruce Jenner. Ding ding ding. Sorry, Caitlyn Jenner. Caitlyn Jenner. The artist formerly known as Bruce Jenner. So yeah, people are losing their minds over.
I'm glad they
non-binary. But if you watch Gen V,
they went with the old animation style too.
Yeah, love it. And a lot of the old voices. Bullshit. A lot of the old voices are coming back, which is awesome.
The guys haven't worked in a long time. They took a break from Walmart or wherever.
Oh, this is great. If Wolverine gets the transition surgery, does he heal to what he was born as or what he identifies as?
He heals to whatever he chooses to heal to. Damn it.
Oh God. I'm gonna be laying in bed tonight being like, I wonder would he have both?
Issues, right? God damn it, I did the surgery 17 times, it keeps growing back.
Oh my God, my face hurts. Oh Jesus. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Regenerative problems.
Woo! Heath. It's ma'am, Bub. Oh no. Oh, I can't get the image out of. He's just wearing like a sundress and just hair.
That on a sticker
everywhere. Just yeah. I'm on my period.
That stupid meme. That video GIF. What do they call it? GIF.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that kid's like, "Ma'am," or "It's ma'am." The fucking butch ass. It's ma'am. That's how you picture that with Wolverine. It's ma'am.
Oh God, I'm literally crying. Oh my God, that's too funny. Oh man, don't do that to me, people. That shit was funny. Fucking lost all train of thought. Switching subjects because we've completely gone off the rails.
Hey, when you've peaked, you peaked.
Here's I'm not putting that up there. You know what you said, Heath. You know what you said. So Stephen Lightfoot is a executive producer.
Heavy-footed.
Shut up. Is a series runner and whatnot. He was the driving force behind the Punisher series, the John Bernthal led Punisher series. So it looks like he's found his second comic book series to show run. It was just revealed that the Punisher alumnus is set to executive produce and co-showrun Prime Video's Spider-Man Noir series that is in active development. So, like I said, he was the showrunner of Netflix's John Bernthal Punisher series for both of its seasons and is re-entering the land of Marvel with a period piece featuring one of Peter Parker's most popular multiversal variants. According to the initial reporting from Variety, Lightfoot will showrun the series alongside with writer Oren Uzel. It's unclear whether the series will begin production or set a release window at the Amazon-owned streamer. Now, this is going to be live action. This is a live action Spider-Man Noir. And for those that don't know, or the only Spider-Man Noir you've ever seen was in the Across the Spider-Verse, it's a very different take on the Spider-Man mythos. There is no web shooting and all that. Like, I think he uses a gun. He's basically kind of like a private detective. Like, it's very old
private
school.
eye with a gun, yeah.
Yeah, it's very old gumshoe detective comic kind of thing.
It's like Sin City kind of.
Yeah,
Spider-Man
very Sin City, black and white.
Edge.
Yeah. So this isn't coming from me, but there are people clamoring apparently that if this is going to happen, this live action, they want the voice of the animated Spider-Man Noir, which was Nick Cage, to be the character. And I'm sorry, but he's like 80, and I don't see him being Spider-Man. No offense to Nick Cage. He had his chance with Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
He's done. He's not allowed. He could voice characters animated.
If he never took off his mask, they could make it work, but
just have you seen Nick Cage? Like, Nick Cage stands weird.
Well, they would just voice if he never took off the mask.
You just have to do the voice.
They would just dub over the voice.
Mm-hmm.
But it'd be weird if it's some, handsome guy like me and then talking like Nicolas Cage.
Nick Cage. Where is he?
Anything for money.
Oh God, it's the dumbest thing. So yeah, he voiced the character in the first Spider-Verse movie, and apparently he's coming back for the next Spider-Verse movie. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Put him in the other one. Do something else.
Yeah.
Come on, man. I mean, I know he'll do it because he does anything for money, but Jesus.
Scott says, Nicolas Cage, let's go. No.
Sony, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Nick Cage just turned 60. Yeah, I'm sorry. No. I know there's guys in action movies.
Dude looks like the Crypt Keeper.
I heard they didn't use much prosthetics for that. What was he? When he played Dracula? Renfield?
He just showed up on set.
They just gave him some longer teeth. That was it. Like, you look exactly like Nosferatu, so you're good. All right.
And someone else not coming on the show.
Nick Cage on the list. Yeah. I remember a couple weeks ago when I asked everybody, I was like, who would you like to see on the show? And I got a great amount of list of people. And I will tell you, if you added people to that list, I reached out to every single person that was mentioned. I mean, shocker that most of them didn't respond.
Yeah, my mailman's pretty busy these days.
They're switching his routes. This is constantly.
Yeah, keeps giving them double routes. So. That's a callback, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't call it a comeback. Darren Mahler. Darren Marlar. Who's that? Who is Darren Marlar? You know what? I'm curious. Now I'm curious because I feel like that's a name I should recognize. Darren Mahler.
Look, postal carrier. Oklahoma City. Like, fucking dick.
All I'm getting is Uber driver. Okay, he's best known today as the creator and host of the immensely popular podcast and syndicated radio show Weird Darkness. Okay. Lived in Kansas City area majority of his childhood. Involved in Chicago. I mean, 2004 was right. It was in Chicago. He found his love for acting and began landing roles in television and film projects. He's also a professional voice artist. Okay, what stuff has he been in? He's got a lot of credits back in 2013, 2014, 2016, but hasn't done much. Huh. Okay. I mean, if you guys want me to, I'll have him on. I'm not familiar with him. And I haven't seen, I guess, the Weird Darkness podcast is a big deal. I'll reach out if that's. Got it. See the joke that you now have running here? Got to reach out to the Amazon delivery driver. Talk to your driver to hook you up. You see what you started?
I did. He didn't talk to me either. He said his friend did one.
Bad.
They were advised not to do it again.
So here's a question from Patrick. Does it become easier to get people on the show since you can name drop other bigger names that were on? Do you network with people to get them on the show, or is it just pure luck that they will answer fan mail and agree? Okay, let's have a moment. We got a minute or two before the break. Full transparency, because there's nothing I hide on this show.
Oversell, underdelivered. That's the frickin' motto we go by.
Backbone of Pop Culture Warrior.
And a lot of BJs.
Offer the swag bag. So in the original days of Pop Culture Warrior, I didn't do interviews the first couple months. Once I always wanted to, and once I was ready and comfortable to do interviews, I reached out to a couple of close friends, people that I've known. If for those that have been around since the beginning, early day interviews were friends of mine, like local comedian,
Amazon delivery driver.
That's where the joke comes from, the Amazon delivery driver, because it was a lot of local friends, comics who are in this area. They're not nationally known. They're, local comics, writers, guys doing like their own indie films. So it was very small, localized guests. And from there, as I got comfortable, I did have a few contacts in the entertainment industry. I had a few people that I knew in the entertainment industry, either through personally or a friend of a friend. And so that's how I got a couple of guests early on, bigger comedians that were touring and different things like that. People that know me know I do a lot of work with Wounded Warrior Project as a nonprofit. I volunteer a lot. And in doing that, I started, I would bump it. That's how I met Louis Anderson. I bumped into him at an event. A couple of guys. It was like that, where I just met them at an event, and I was like, "Hey, would you come on my show?" And they did. I was part of an organization called Operation Homefront. No, not Homefront. You say Operation Mend. Operation Mend out of UCLA. That's where one of these surgeries. You can't really see that scar anymore, but that's where that surgery came from. Was Operation Mend. And in doing so, I met someone, and it turned out her cousin was Clark Gregg, Agent Coulson from the Avengers. It just so happens. And I was like, you think if you asked, he would do it? And, lo and behold, Clark Gregg is on the show. And so a lot of it boils down to that. In the early days, it was just connections of people through one person to another. And then as we grew, it it became reaching out to different, publicists, managers. Like you said, it was the network growing, right? It was building and connecting with different medias. We worked with a lot of different PR companies, doing stuff like New York Comic Con and all these big shows. And so that was the way that we, started getting known. And then, working with one person, and then they have such a great time. Hey, I know this person, and I put in a good word. And so, eventually you build this kind of network, and you reach out, and you get some great guests that are willing to come on and talk. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back from the break, we have the incredible Phil LaMarr joining us live in studio, and I cannot wait for that. It's going to be a great conversation, and I know you all are going to love it. So if you have questions for Phil, as always, put them in the chat. We will get to them as we can. And until we come back from the break, be good. Mike, will we see you after the interview?
Yep, it's in my contract.
Well played. Well played.
Read what you sign, ladies and gentlemen.
Read the fine print. Always read the fine print. That's how they get you. All right, guys, we'll be back after a short break. See you on the side. Shots.
You're listening to the sounds of WTF Nation Radio.
Hey, you there? Yeah, it is right, you. Let me ask you something, alright? Where the hell do you think that you're going? Oh, would you think because the show's going to commercial that means you get to just walk away? Well, CQ asked me to pass on the little message, alright? And it says, I'll be back.
After all I've done, do you love me now? Do you love me now? After all I've said, running through your head, do you love me now? Do you love me told you
You're watching Pop Culture Warrior. The force is strong. They have the high ground.
Broadcasting live from the basement of the Pentagon. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Oh, man, you guys know I've been excited all day, all week. You've been hearing me talk about it, and here we are. Welcome back to Pop Culture Warrior. I am your host, CQ, and joining me tonight is a man whose voice has brought to life some of the most iconic characters in animation, from the heroic Samurai Jack to the hilarious Hermes Conrad in Futurama. His versatility knows no bounds. He's a Yale graduate and a founding member of the improv group, The Purple Crayon. He has dazzled us on Mad TV and made us laugh in countless roles across film, television, and video games. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my greatest honor to get to chat with him here tonight. Please give a warm welcome to our guest, the legendary Phil LaMarr, everybody. My man, thank you. Thank you for doing this. I mean, by the way, love the setup. You look great. The background looks great. I love it. I'm digging it.
Thank you.
Pop culture, man. We're right here. We're right here with you. There's so much. I mean, we just talked about this a second ago, but I did an exhaustive deep dive into your career. And even with the hour, if we get to 5% of it, I mean, we're lucky because, again, just a mile-long, incredible career. But let's start off right at the top, same as everybody. What is your military connection?
Well, that's interesting because my military connection is familial in two different ways. The primary being my paternal uncle, who I am his namesake. He enlisted in the Army at 17 and didn't make it back from Vietnam at 19. And, you know, he passed away before I was born, and this was my father's brother. So he and my mother decided to name me after his lost brother. And that's a wonderful tribute, but it somehow changed something, and I don't know if they knew this was happening, but not only am I his namesake, I'm his face sake.
Whoa. I mean,
that's my Uncle Phil.
That's impressive. Wow.
So, I mean, it's wacky to, be having this picture my whole life and then go to Washington, D.C. and see my name on the wall.
That's incredible.
Yeah. But the second connection is my wife's father, my 98-year-old father-in-law, is a World War II vet.
Wow.
But he survived not only the war, he survived,
everything else.
Right. Almost another 80 years since then.
That's incredible. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm still blown away. I mean, first of all, what an honor to be, to given that kind of a name. I'm sure that somewhere that's, I don't want to say it's a burden, but that's a heavy weight to want to live up and do a good job for that, I'm sure.
Yeah. No, it's not a burden. I mean, being attached to someone, I mean, being attached to someone you've lost, you know, can be for my mother and father probably be sad, but for me, it's having an attachment to history.
Yeah.
That's not a burden.
That's incredible. That's, oh man, that's beautiful. Oh God, I'm gonna shed a tear. Okay. It is funny. I was just watching Masters of the Air, the Apple TV series, and so I was just thinking about the loss and the service and it's an incredible what these young men and women did. Truly inspiring. So anyway. In doing my due diligence, I learned that you're into comic books. You're into the superhero stuff. You like these things. I'm curious. This is our getting to know you phase. So, is there a particular comic book or a character that you're particularly fond of?
Yes. Although, I mean, growing up, I was a big DC Comics and Mad Magazine reader. I read everything that they put out. And then ironically wound up in my adulthood being in both worlds of those books that were big parts of my head and heart. But in the comic book world, somewhere along the lines as a kid, I decided that Batman was my main, hero. And, nowadays, I started doing Comic-Cons, partially because that, world started going on, after the 90s and the internet got invented, then people knew who were the actors who did, voiced cartoon characters. In the old days, when I was growing up, you never knew, maybe you knew one or two names, but you never knew what they looked like. And nobody ever met them. But another reason I started going to Comic-Cons, first it was suggested to me by my co-worker Billy West, who's one of the most incredible voice actors and musicians. And he said, Phil, you should maybe start going to these Comic-Con things. I'm like, oh, okay. But in the back of my head, the little nerd kid was like, dude, you're going to be at a thing with some of the best comic book artists? So, whenever I can take a break from my signing table, I head to Artist Alley and start fanboying.
That's awesome.
And most of the time, if, I will always take my sketchbook and try to get a sketch from somebody. And I usually, if they say, well, what would you want me to draw? Could you draw me a Batman?
I like that. I was going to say, what's your go-to, right? Because, I frequent conventions very often. And you see these guys that are like, draw me as Superman or draw me hanging out with Spider-Man or whatever it is. But I love the idea that nope, it's just a book full of Batmans drawn by different artists. That's so cool.
Even artists who weren't known for drawing Batman.
Sometimes those are the best.
I became friends with the incredible, iconic artist Bill Sienkiewicz.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my sketchbook, I have a Bill Sienkiewicz Batman drawing.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah. It's the dirty thing of where you go to a guy who's known for Marvel artwork and like, yeah, do me a Batman. It's like we're gonna get freaky with it. Do me a Batman. Any really cool, crazy, wild, because cons can be weird, things can happen and out of love, but also stalkery and crazy. But any wild convention experiences, anything that pops to mind?
Yes. Well, it's funny because the two that jump into my head are tied to Batman. And it's, creators I got to meet at cons who were so iconic, I couldn't even bear to ask them for drawings. Okay, first, I was at a con, I think in Canada, and I saw Neil Adams, who to me, was the artist who made Batman cool again.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because the 1938, you know, Batman was a hero. The 60s Batman was campy.
Yeah,
You know,
it's cartoony. Yeah.
yeah. I got to meet Adam West and I took a picture with him. Actually, I worked with Adam West. But to, you know, to me, Neil's artwork made Batman in the 70s as cool and as powerful as a non-powered hero could be, you know. And to me, without Neil Adams' art making this guy strong, and you never would have had the movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, when I met him at the con, it wasn't like, hey, draw this, you know. No, dude.
Yeah.
You can't afford a Neil Adams drawing. But I did get a chance to talk to him. And because I probably said something to him that nobody did before. I went up to him and said, Mr. Adams, my name is Phil LaMarr. I'm an actor. And I just want to say you are so amazing. But also, I want to say thank you. Because your genius creating a character eventually led to a job that I got. So, because he co-created the character of John Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if he hadn't done that, I would not have gotten to be on the Justice League cartoon.
So true.
And it was amazing. We spent 20 minutes and he was telling me the stories of all the hurdles he had to go over back in those days, trying to get a black guy into comics in the 70s. You know, it's like, that's incredible that you were, and, you know, but that's who he was. He was an amazing artist, but he also was somebody who fought for things that mattered. He fought for the, you know, the support of comic book artists, you know, because for, you know, a period, the comic book companies just treated them as it's work for hire. But Neil was one of the people who campaigned to get the estate of the Superman creators ownership of the character and set that is now, you know, and of course this was back in the days when there wasn't, you know, they were just selling the comics.
Yeah.
Now, without Neil Adams fighting to support his peers, this Marvel universe would not be paying off the people who created the foundation of it. Anyway, I'm sorry. I should have warned you. I tend to give wrong answers. The second,
You're in
the
the right
second
place.
kooky fanboy thing at a con was when I got to meet Frank Miller.
Oh, man.
You know, I mean, because again, coolest Batman stuff. And it was funny because we're in the green room and the actor from the HBO vampire show, Joe, big guy Joe, he and I were both like going, oh my God, that's Frank Miller, you know, and we were sort of like, oh wait, no, okay, you go, you know. And I saw him. We were fighting over which fanboy got to go say hi, and then and of course did not ask Frank Miller for a drawing,
obviously,
because dude, I own so many of your drawings already. But we talked, and one of the wildest things of having somebody who is deep into your, you know, artistic heart. He said, oh, wow, you know, I'm actually a big Family Guy fan.
Of course.
So that felt great.
Man,
I've done something that somebody who is an iconic, legendary artist to me likes. Yes.
That's a score. Man, I got chills. That's awesome. Like those are like fanboy dreams. You're living all of our dreams, man. You're living it.
Yes.
Before the acting, before the voice acting. Take us back, young Philip LaMarr. What did you think you'd be getting into, right? What, accountant, baseball player? What was young Phil LaMarr looking at in the future?
Well, actually, didn't back then. As a kid, you didn't stop and think about your adulthood so much, because for those of us, the age of 33 was like ancient. But I remember, I was a book nerd. I spent so much time reading. I won a reading competition in elementary school, and I was the dullest dude in my family. Like my cousins were all, really, out there, fun, having fun, I was the least interesting person. And, my cousins were always like, dang it, Phil, why you just sitting in a corner reading? But so they, had the idea of getting into performance, come up to me. I would say, no, nobody's going to look at me more than they look at my cousins, and none of them even do perform, but they're they do fun things. But weirdly, it's my book nerdiness that led me into performing. My 8th grade school decided to do a play version of a book that I loved called The Phantom Tollbooth. And so I said, oh, yeah, okay, I'll go audition for the play. Not because I felt like I was an actor or anything, but I love the book. Oh, and there's this one scene towards the very end where this character called, the senses taker is, taking on the main characters. He's going to take their sense of purpose, their sense of duty. There's, like, I want to play the senses taker. So I went and auditioned for the play and didn't get that part that I had in my mind. I got one of the 2 leads instead. And, that's why, I, to this day, credit my, high school drama teacher. It's like, he not only inspired me, he made me an actor. And, doing my first performance ever, opening the play alone on stage, doing a monologue under a spotlight to the audience for 2 minutes. That was how I began. And it felt good. I remember feeling the energy of the room, like, oh, these people are mine.
What's the old quote? And the rest, as they say, was history.
Yeah. I mean, that the feeling of that energy empowering me at that, second when I started the monologue has been the dragon I've been chasing, for the decades ever since.
Yeah, man. There's quite no drug like the acting bug, the stage, man. I get you. So I fast forward a little bit.
Please.
I took a look, and again, if the internet's to be believed, your first credit is voicing a character called Woody on the Mr. T cartoon series. How? Why? What'd you think?
Wow. That's wild that you noticed that, because that is a fact, but it's not, I mean, because it was a character on the Mr. T cartoon back in the mid 80s, which was not a hit. I mean, Mr. T was a hit. He was a iconic, popular person. But back then, that's why they did the cartoons. Like, well, we're selling the Mr. T cereal. Now let's try to sell some toys, And it turns out that a good friend of my mother's was an executive at NBC. And my mom had probably dragged her to some of my plays. And this was one of the few cartoons back then that they decided to hire actual kids to voice the kid characters. The teenagers on Mr. T's gymnastics team that he coached, that they traveled around solving mysteries, like on Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
So I was doing plays, and so I said, okay, I can play a gymnast, and I went and auditioned and got the part. But it's funny because I didn't think of it as a goal. Like, now I'm starting my professional acting career. Like, no, it's just a part. Just like, I did the musical Fiorello before. Now I'm doing this thing.
And you had no idea where it was leading to you after that, right?
No, because back in the 80s, voice acting wasn't a term that anybody used. I mean, there were people who did it, but there were just 3 channels that showed, 2 hours of cartoons on Saturday morning. Right before then, they started playing golf.
Yeah, it's so true. So let's talk about for a second Pulp Fiction, because your role is iconic, is instrumental into to the minutia of the storyline of what's going on. You had to have spent quite a bit of time with Sam Jackson, with John Travolta. There's got to be some interesting stories from set. I mean, take us back. What was that like? That's really the beginning of your career. What's that like being in that room?
Well, it was incredible, because I had grown up watching John, and although at that point in the early 90s, he was sort of on a downslide of his career, but he had been one of the most famous people in the world. And actually, right before we shot the movie, I got shown an example of that, because Quentin had us rehearse our scenes before we shot the movie, which was so brilliant, because that is a way how you can shoot things more quickly, because then the actors know what the other actors are doing and the director knows what they're going to do. So it makes things more efficient.
Sure.
But I remember, walking into a Sony studio soundstage, and I got to see John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson. And we'll practice our scenes, and then Quentin's like, why don't we go to lunch? And so we just walked down the street to a little Dominican or Guatemalan restaurant or something, I don't know. And we're just sitting there, and the waitress comes up, and is giving people what they ordered, and she didn't recognize Quentin. She wasn't a big Reservoir Dogs fan, she just goes to Quentin. She's like, quesadilla. She goes to Sam. It's like burrito. Then she goes to John Travolta. And I realized, wow, this woman, in her second language, whatever village she grew up in whatever country, they had copies of the Saturday Night Fever record. She knew who he was,
Amazing.
And that's like, oh my God, he was worldwide famous. And then that movie pushed him back up, because he was like into the 3 talking baby movies along at that point. But this pushed him back up, and people recognized how amazing he was. And I saw why he was so famous. It was because of his talent, but also of his attachment to the characters and to the audience. He gave a suggestion to Quentin about his character, and this was a script that was incredible, but it's the one thing Quentin rewrote because of John's suggestion. And the suggestion actually, weirdly, came when John saw me. When I walked in for rehearsal, Quentin's like, hey, guys, I want you to meet Phil. He's playing Marvin. And John goes, oh, this is the guy playing Marvin? Oh, geez. This is the guy I got to kill. The audience is going to hate me. So he made Quentin rewrite the gun scene in the back of the car, because originally Vincent, John's character, was supposed to shoot me in the throat accidentally, and then I was going to sit there and go, and then like, oh, damn it. Well, we can't take him to a hospital. Put him out of his misery. And then he's got to shoot me on purpose. And John said, no, I can't shoot him on purpose.
Yeah, that changes a lot. That changes a lot to that scene. Wow. Yeah. I mean, which actually leads me to my next question, because I'm always curious and fascinated as an actor when you see yourself be killed on like, what is that to you? What does that feel like to be like, well, if that's how I went out, that's what it would look like? Like, what does that mean to you? What does that feel like to you?
Well, I knew that was going to happen. I read the script, and because of the original thing, I went to a college friend of mine, old former roommate, who was a, brain surgeon at the USC, emergency unit. I'm like, hey, you probably see people get shot a lot down there. What's it like? How would someone sound? But didn't have to do that. But the strange thing was, in the filming of it, I was not there for the killing. They built a rubber version of me, a lookalike thing, that was rigged to explode and blow all of the brain and blood across the window. So they had to take that in the car with John and Sam for the. But, and I don't know if I'm supposed to.
Please.
Well, I guess I can tell this story now. It's 30 years later. Quentin shot an actual camera shot of Marvin's head exploding, but he never intended on having that in the movie. He was always going to cut it out the way it is now. But he said, no. I know how these ratings boards work. So I got to give them something I can take away. So they won't take away some of the other stuff I don't want to take away. So I'm like, in my head, I was thinking, oh my gosh, my head blowing up got us to keep the GIMP.
I mean, that's genius. It's bait. He left bait for them. He was going to cut it anyway. And wow, that's smart. That's smart.
Isn't he brilliant? Yeah, he's a genius.
So your first time seeing yourself die was really the first, like on the screen.
Yeah. And it was weird because they shot the Harvey Keitel scenes with the Marvin body before I came to shoot the apartment scenes. And it was wacky because there were so many crew members who were looking at me funny. They're like, I'm like, what? And I finally like, what? And somebody said, no, sorry, guy. It's just weird we've been looking at you for weeks, but dead. So it's weird to see you walking around now.
It's like that movie Mannequin, right? He's alive. He's alive. Oh man, that's awesome. Another huge thing was you did 116 episodes over 5 years of Mad TV, which is, I mean, absorbent amount of episodes to do a kind of a sketch show. When looking back at that time, what comes to mind? Like what are the memories that you have of that time? What stays with you today?
Well, it's a big part of my past and my career because sketch comedy was how I started. I mean, it was my first steady gig. Well, other than Mr. T, but back then I didn't consider that part of an acting career. That was just my 16-year-old summer job. At least, I'm not working at a store. But no, the best thing about Mad TV was it took me from the theater I was in Los Angeles called the Groundlings Theater, which I started doing that just because of their improv comedy background. I loved doing improv comedy in college, like you mentioned, with our improv comedy group, the Purple Crayon of Yale. That was such a wonderful community. So when I graduated, came home to LA, I'm like, I want to be part of another improv group. I started taking improv classes at the Groundlings, but the Groundlings say, okay, start with improv, but now that improv was so good, write it down. Make that into a sketch, like start writing. I'm like, I wasn't trying to write, but I did it. And it was great because I got to work with some incredible, iconic people. I was taking Groundlings classes with Jennifer Coolidge, and being in the theater where incredible people like, Lisa Kudrow, Lorraine Newman, Paul Rubens, Mindy Sterling had all started their careers felt great. And then to have a Fox company come along and say, okay, now we're going to pay you to do what you've been doing.
And put it on TV.
And I got hired alongside one of my Groundlings cast mates, my friend Mary Shear. And it was amazing because we got to do a sketch with my character, the UPS guy, a sketch we had done live on stage, we then got to do on camera for more than 99 people.
A little bit more. It was kind of a following. And speaking of Mad TV,
so being able to move up, to be doing what you were just doing, just for my heart, to actually move up and like, oh, now I have a career. And Mad TV had these little wacky claymation things, and it got me back on a microphone. And that, a couple of years later, led me into thinking, maybe I should try to get back into cartoons, because I was doing it, in a professional way. I thought maybe I could do this in a way that I never thought back in 1984. So Mad TV gave me a lot.
So it's that full circle, right? It's the coming back. And speaking of the voice acting on Mad TV, do you remember Sex Toy Story? Because you played Buzz Light Touch, which I think is hilarious. And I think it's, as I'm looking through your work, I think it's particularly funny because a few years later, you're voicing a character in the Buzz Lightyear cartoon.
Right?
Did that connection ever come up? Did anyone ever mention like, we know you did the other thing?
No, because most of the people watching Mad TV back in the days were not in the industry.
Gotcha.
We were not a hit. But if somebody had a 14-year-old boy who stayed up late, then they knew about the show.
Fair point. So moving into the animation stuff, obviously we got to talk about Futurama, because I mean when you talk about icon, Simpsons, Family Guy, South Park, like the icon, Futurama is right up there. It is an iconic show. It has died and been reborn numerous times, like a phoenix rising from the ashes. It always comes back, which I love.
You're the zombie of cartoons.
Exactly. God, I love it when the voice thing, man. Oh God, it gets me every time. I talk to so many voice actors, and every time they do the thing, I'm just like, I giggle like a little kid, because there's something magical about that. I love it so much, and I'm sure you know this, having doing the conventions, it resonates with people in such an authentic. It's like being able to touch someone's childhood. Wow, that sounds so dirty, but you can touch them right in the child. It brings it out in them. So, when you're first doing Futurama, you're first doing Conrad, like, do you get a sense of like, oh, this is something special, or does it take a while to sink in? What's your thoughts then?
Well, it was again another Mad TV blessing, because the casting director who cast Mad TV was then hired to cast Matt Groening's new cartoon. And she brought a couple of us from the Mad TV cast, me and David Herman, because she knew, well, they do the claymation stuff. I know they can do voices and they play lots of characters. So she got us to audition for Futurama, which, was at the time, it was on par with my audition for Mad TV. Because when I auditioned for Mad TV, it was being produced by a production company owned by Quincy Jones. So you walk into a room full of executives and you're trying to get a job, and there is one of the most iconic human beings on the planet sitting 6 feet away from you. I'm like, oh, but he's nice. And the same thing happened with Matt. It's like, oh my God, that's the guy who created The Simpsons. This, a person who had such an impact on, American culture that he had to change his own son's name because of his, the amazingness of The Simpsons. You could not be an 8-year-old boy named Homer.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to start calling his son Abe.
That's I haven't thought about that in so long, but that's so true. Speaking of these voices, a lot of the series you've been on, you voiced multiple characters on those shows. For you, what's the most challenging aspect of voicing multiple characters in a single, reality, I guess?
It's not a challenge. I mean, for me, it is simply, well, and maybe this is part of the sketch comedy background where, when you're doing a 4-hour Mad TV live shoot, you're playing at least 7 different characters. But in animation, you get to play all those different characters without having to switch wigs and do 40 minutes of makeup or, change a costume. But you have to put out the performance in a different way. And part of it is the, old history of cartoons. Because, like I said, back in the old days, there was just like 7, 8 dudes who voiced every cartoon in America. So, well, we're not just going to have 3 characters. Guys, do more. But it's a weird thing because the business side of it is they pay you union scale, and that covers you voicing 2 characters, and for an extra 10%, they can get a 3rd voice.
Wow.
So, you can't really have a career in voice acting in animation unless you can do multiple voices. Because if you just have one sound, then that means those producers have to pay 3 times as much money. But it's also fun. And being on Futurama and walking into the recording of episode 1 and getting to watch Billy West voice 3 different, leads of the show talking to each other in completely different voices, it set the bar. I mean, that was like, having a pickup game with Michael Jordan. You're like, oh, that's how good it's possible to be. Okay.
Yeah, I can see, you see videos of like Seth MacFarlane, when he's doing, Peter talking to Brian, talking to Stewie, and it makes your head spin. You're just like, oh my God, how the hell do you do that? which we've gotten a bunch of shout outs for you. What a big shout out to Ollie Williams. Everybody loves Ollie.
Yes.
Are we able to? Can I toss it to you to get to the weather report here? Okay. And now
it's no rain.
Okay. It's so easy. It's so easy. Oh God.
Wait, and see, that is yet another Mad TV blessing. Even though Seth and I had worked on some little Nickelodeon short thing along with Butch Hartman a couple of years before, it didn't matter. But what happened was the Fox executive who was, in charge of Mad TV, she had a little side gig she was doing. It's like, yeah, I'm trying to bring this young cartoon guy into the network. And she did two things. One worked, one didn't. She went to the Mad TV producers and said, guys, would you be interested in meeting this young talented guy, Seth, and maybe having his cartoon be an interstitial on Mad the way that The Simpsons were on the Tracy Ullman show? And they went, nah, we don't think it's funny enough. Cut to the show that lasted twice as long as your sketch show. But the other thing she did was, okay, well, he's going to put together a little 15-minute presentation version of the animated show to present that to the network. Hey, Phil, Alex, she said this to Alex Borstein too. Would you guys, as a favor to me, come and do a voice for this young cartoon guy? And we both said, sure, why not? And so I voiced the judge in this little, halfway version of the first episode of Family Guy. And later that led to Seth casting me as Ollie, which was hilarious because one line every episode, the 30-second workday.
I mean, you can't complain about that, right? It's like, hey, it's a credit.
But it also got him Alex, who played his wife and was a writer and producer on the show. And still is, So yeah, it was a blessing.
Oh man. And see, this is what I'm talking about. We're running short on time, and there's so much. No. In the best way possible. There's just so much to talk about. And we're barely, tip of the iceberg on each of these, but the people at home need to know. You have done so many superheroes, villains across all the mediums, and tiny recap, just small, not even all of them. Obviously, Static Shock, Green Lantern, Flash, Hawkman, Firestorm, Brainiac, Man-Bat, Gorilla Grodd, Cyborg, Lucius Fox, Aquaman, Baron Mordo, Dormammu, Killer Moth, Cloak, Jarvis, Wonder Man, Ricochet, Gambit, Steel, John Henry Irons, and honorable mention to Captain Jamaica from the 2009 Superhero Squad. Captain Jamaica. That's a deep cut. But you have done so much, and again, we keep talking about this kind of full circle to having loved comics, to then getting to voice these iconic characters. When you reflect back on your time voicing just all of these heroes and these villains, what does that mean to you, both personally and professionally?
Well, it's always a joy to get to be part of, these universes that I grew up taking in. The DC universe, the Marvel universe, Star Wars, all of that stuff is such a joy. But the best thing is I have gotten to work with so many great, talented creators. Because the truth of the matter is, not every superhero comic or cartoon is necessarily great. We all love those superhero worlds, but they don't all necessarily do that great. But, getting to work on Static Shock, Justice League, like, some of the best superhero storytelling ever was a joy. I mean, basically, it felt like being in a Neil Adams or a Frank Miller comic book.
Brought to life. Yeah, so well said. And just a couple of notes from the audience, because I want to shout out to these guys. From Jorge, I've been following Phil since the good Mad TV days. From Scott, going from Static Shock to Jon Stewart, that is some crazy range. From who else we have here? From Patrick, he says, "Congrats, Hermes Conrad is the only bureaucrat that has won our hearts." So you're getting crazy amounts of love from all the people at home to show you what an impact. I mean, I don't have to tell you. I know you know, but what an impact your work does. And another character. Let's step away from superheroes for a second. But another character that is as iconic as any, and honestly, I feel like in this day and age needs a kind of a reboot, a refresh. Samurai Jack. Samurai Jack was massive. Like when I was a kid and growing up, even into my teen years, like that's something we talked about. Like the way, I don't know, kids talk about Pokemon nowadays, whatever it is, whatever's the hot thing. Like we were obsessed. Like and Samurai Jack to this day has a very dedicated, hardcore fan base. I'm sure you're seeing this out there in the cons. How does it feel being part of something with such culture? Like it's a culturally significant show, is what I would say.
It's wonderful. I mean, honestly, the biggest blessing is when you work with somebody who is that great an artist and fantastic a storyteller. The material they give you makes your performance great. I mean, it's like being handed the script to Pulp Fiction. Like everybody is amazing because we have solid gold words, and Gendy Tartakovsky is a genius. The fact that he was able to do a show like that on Cartoon Network in the 90s. I mean, I remember that first episode was probably the only cartoon in America with 9 minutes without talking, because that was his concept. It's about action. And sometimes when there is action, people aren't talking, and and he did this incredible thing. Like, I remember when I first started doing the voice, I thought, oh, this guy's a big warrior. He must stutter. He's like, no, pull it back. And he came up with the concept of showing Jack's strength by having him less efforty.
Yeah, in the calm. That calm.
Yeah, because like most of the superhero action shows, one of the hardest things to do is you're swinging, aren't you? Making the noise while you. Yeah. But for Samurai Jack, when he swings his sword, he is so strong, he does not have to have a sound come out of him. And that's an incredible concept of strength, because it's probably true.
That's
like a guy that's that powerful don't make a sound when he cracks your face.
Yeah. You watch all the Bruce Lee's and the legendary